Hello, welcome back to Al Talks. This podcast I started 3 years ago to chronicle me starting stand up. This podcast is a weekly podcast. It comes out once a week, and this is just a small little introduction video into the podcast. So, down below in the description of each episode, you can go to my link tree and find links to everything connected to me. This podcast is available on YouTube, which you're watching it on right now, and also on Spotify. But yeah, that is just a small introduction into this podcast and everything that goes along with it. Hello, welcome back to Al Talks, the first episode of this year, which is 2024. So yeah, this is the first episode of this year of this podcast. I just catch you up on the last couple of months that I've been doing. I know I'm becoming back and forth with the episodes and whatnot, but for good reason. And that is, I was working on some things to try and progress in life in this year. So we shall see. But anyway, if you listen to the comedy vlog episode, you'll note that I had an absolutely amazing year in comedy. I set out to achieve three goals, which were to have the podcast on Spotify. Well, I can't remember if I had that as a goal or not, but I wanted to do it anyway. It was just kind of a lifelong goal, a wrong time goal. But the two things I set out for myself that I want to do comedy wise this year, or not this year, last year, was to do more gigs than the year before and to also guest MC somewhere. Both of which I achieved. I guest MC'd Giggles and I did, I think, a total of 35 gigs last year, which was five more than the previous year. So altogether now I have in the last 2 years performed a total of 65 gigs, which is pretty cool, I think. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I had a great year of comedy, but I also got to see some great comedy. I went to a couple of shows. You might have seen one of the, I think it was either a podcast episode or a comedy vlog where I met Mark Normand, who was super nice, really, really cool dude. Really enjoyed myself at that gig. He was very, very funny. Um, his new special on Netflix is spectacular. I think it's called Soup to Nuts. Very good special. Really enjoyed it. And uh, and then I went to see Sam Talent and Nathan Lund. I also bought Sam Talent is a comedian from the US from Denver, Colorado. Well, just outside. He grew up in Fort Collins, and he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and that's where I found out about him. And then I seen on Instagram that he was coming to perform in Ireland. He did two shows that I went to. One at my friend's comedy club, Punt Comedy, brand new comedy club that they started. The two guys used to run the Haypenny have now started up their own club in different locations. So it was great to go to a new club. I've been to that place before. It's in Dame Lane in Dublin. Great venue actually as well. So it's fun to see them in their new place. And then to see Sam Talent, my jaws hurt from laughing that much. And I went to see him the next night as well. Um, Sam wrote a book called, this book here, called Running the Light. I haven't read it yet, but it is that I'm reading a book about Slipknot at the moment, which I'm nearly finished, and that'll be the next book to I will be starting to read. I also need to buy Joey Diaz's new book, which won the Comedy Book of the Year in the US. So well done to Uncle Joey for that. It's called Tremendous: The Life of a Comedy Savage. But yeah, getting back to Sam Talent, at his first show, there was like me and him had an interesting interaction because as he was touring around the world, and then he was come back to the US to film his special, which is also a great special. It's actually available on YouTube on Matt and Shane's secret podcast page. Shane Gillis and his friend Matt have a podcast, so check it out on that. It's also a very good special. But yeah, Sam Talent, I mean, him had an interaction because he was talk about he was over in Tokyo doing stand up, and I'm not going to say the joke that he said, but it's in the special anyway. But it, he thought I was from like Japan, and because I was sitting quite close to the stage, he was like, "You from Japan, right?" And I was like, "No, no, I'm from Siberia in Russia." And he was like, "Oh, I couldn't have been more wrong." It was a very funny interaction. But after that first show in Punt Comedy, I went up to buy his book and meet him, and we talked for a little bit. I talked to his other friend who was his co-host on the podcast Chubby Behemoth, which I've been listening to a lot of episodes of. It's a very fun podcast because just basically the two of them are friends, and they just have a riff and they talk about the shows they did and stuff like that, and childhood memories and things like that. Because Fort Collins is like a very small town. It's like 800 people in it or whatnot. So and they talk about the shenanigans to get up to on the road in comedy, because Sam has been doing comedy for I think about 16, 17 years. Nathan's been at it more than 20. So it's very, it was to see their perspective of, being on the road and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. It's reminiscent of, Joey Diaz's stories. And what else? Oh, yeah. So we were chatting away anyway, and I told him I'm a comedian and I have a podcast as well. And when I told him that there was a guy stand there, he's part of LCF Promotions, the promotion company that brought and booked Sam all his two gigs. And he actually recognized me from Hysteria Comedy Club. Now, obviously, I knew they were going to be there present the night. I just didn't know the guy who was running it, Andy. But it was cool to actually be recognized by, by to be recognized as a comic by a promoter. So that was very, very nice. Really enjoyed that. And then the second night, the night after that, Sam Talent was performing in Little Whelan's, which is the small room after the side of Whelan's up in Dublin. So I went up there, seen him before the show. We had a little chat. He remembered me from the night before, and just talking to him and Nathan about basically comedy in the US. I asked him a couple of questions, which venues they like performing at and stuff like that. And then they did their second show there. Again, my jaw hurt from so much laughing. Very interesting interaction, and like those two shows is what Sam was, like I said, was working out for his new special. And once again, it was great to see a show being worked out and then coming back and filming a special in the US that came out like a couple of months later. It was very bright outside the moment. That's what kind of don't think this gold can is helping either. Liquid Death is finally available to buy in shops close to me, which is great because it's very nice. Please sponsor me, Liquid Death. That would be great. Um, okay, is there anything else to talk about? I think that's it, pretty much. I've been, in terms of like material this year, happy with the amount of new stuff that I've managed to work out and whatnot. I have a lot of new jokes that I need to write and start this year. Oh, actually, as well, I will be in Show Me the Funny this year again on the 29th of January in King's Head Pub in Galway City, County Galway, Ireland. Looking forward to that because that last year that show was spectacular. It's probably one of the best gigs I did. I performed in front of like I think it was like 60, 70 people in the audience, which is great. It was an incredible opportunity to be able to perform there, and I'm really happy and excited. I know I don't look at them, a bit sick at the moment. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it this year, just as much as last year. I have great optimism about it. I was at the Halfpenny Bridge Inn. Like I said, Jason and Kevin are in the new club, so my other friends have taken over the running of that. And what was I going to say? Yeah, they've taken over the run of that, and they were hosting a comedy competition there. I didn't enter because why didn't I enter? I don't actually know because I kind of just wanted to leave myself more free, I suppose, for stuff because I wasn't sure about coming back into comedy early in the year or whatnot. Because, like I said, I'm just working on some stuff to help me progress in life, and we'll see how that goes. And is there any other stuff? Yeah, so I have to write a set now. Well, not write, but basically figure out what I want to do for the Show Me the Funny competition. I will be competing with. I don't actually know everyone yet, but I know two people that I'm competing with. One that was actually a good friend of mine who will be helping me with my solo show in the future as my opener. They actually won the competition, the Halfpenny Virgin. That competition was called the competition is called Ireland's Next Top Comic, which I think is a very good, funny name. So there's that. I just have to compile basically a list of jokes. I already have two jokes that I want to do. They worked out really, really well all of last year. So I will be doing them again this year for the competition because see, I'm in the heat. If I get through that, I'm in the final. So I don't, you always have to write two sets essentially. That if you get through the heat and get into the final, you obviously, but it's kind of it's difficult because you don't want to bring your A game in the heat because you want to use it in the final. But I have enough material that I could weasel out some stuff. I also don't want to do the stuff that I did last year, which actually reminds me I need to look over my recording of that my set last year. Yeah, a lot of work to do, but I have time. I've got 23 days to do that. Um, but I think that's pretty much sums it up for this podcast episode. Just to recap, met Mark Normand. I actually said to Mark Normand, because they were on about in one of the episodes of Protect Our Parks, which is like kind of a small segment thing they do on Joe Rogan's podcast, where it's him, Mark Normand, Joe Rogan, Ari Shaffir, and Shane Gillis just get together, record a podcast, have fun. And he told a very funny joke about that. And I mentioned to Mark, I said, very good joke. And he was like, oh, thanks. Mark Norm was actually really nice and down to earth. He put on a spectacular show of all brand new material, which absolutely destroyed the room. Like the Halfpenny Bridge in Comedy Club, it's upstairs in the room. It's not. You could probably fit like 60 people in there, but it's at a squeeze. And it was at mad ramped capacity that night. And what was good about that night was there was so many of us comedians, Isabel in the back. Like, it was probably about, out of that 50, 60 people, there's probably about 20 comedians that night, which is very fun, including the people who run the show and whatnot. But it was a spectacular night. I really enjoyed it. It was great meeting Sam Talent and Nathan Lund as well. Like I said, I listen to the podcast now. It's very fun. Just guys having fun and chats and whatnot. Also, I haven't recorded like one of these longer sit down episodes in a long time, so forgive them if I look a bit rusty. Like I said, I'm also a bit under the weather. But I will finish off this episode because I'm going to record the 3-year comedy anniversary episode for next week. So I think, yeah, that's all. As per usual, all the links down below for everything. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.